ดีค่ะ Very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nabunag.
And I'm Hatay Teshikitiran and have a good Friday evening. And we'll begin program tonight with the latest updates on Bangkok's reopening. So after the tourism minister announced delays to reopen the capital to foreign travelers from October 1st to 15th, but the plan has been actually backtracked again after the city's governor announced that they will not reopen Bangkok until 70% of its population are fully vaccinated. So Bangkok Governor Aswin Kwangmueang declared today that Thailand's capital will not reopen to fully vaccinated and COVID-19 negative international arrivals without quarantine requirement on October 15, as announced by the Tourism and Sports Minister Kun Pipat Ratchakitprakarn on Wednesday, which was September 15, citing the need to vaccinate at least 70% of the city's population first. Police General Aswin claimed he never said Bangkok will reopen because a decision of this kind must prioritize the people. So he said to be able to reopen, the infection prevention measures must be improved first. And if we decide to reopen now and there's a new outbreak, it would also be problematic. So besides the requirement of 70% of the Bangkok's population having received 2 doses, further discussions must also be held with relevant agencies, the governor said. He also said the city hall will determine the reopening date itself. The governor so expects the 70% full vaccination target to be hit by October 22nd, and that's a little bit about a week after the planned date. But the campaign may be sped up if more doses of vaccines are allocated to the city.
And only almost 40% of Bangkok's population aged 18 and above have received 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. On September 15th, if we remember, the Tourism and Sports Minister announced in a press briefing that the reopening of Bangkok will be postponed from October 1st to October 15th, as the authorities want at least 70% of the city's population vaccinated first, which was expected to be by mid-October. So that means the 4 other provinces, Chiang Mai, Chonburi, Phetchaburi, and Prachuap Khiri Khan, are still scheduled to reopen on October 1st, but still pending the CCSA and the cabinet's approvals. So Bangkok is not going to reopen anytime soon because there remains more than 30% of the capital's population are fully vaccinated, which of course is nowhere near the 70% target. Also, it is understandable that the Bangkok governor wants to prioritize the health of the people first.
Right. It's also no surprise that there has been some backlash on this lack of government coordination that actually speaks with one voice and ends up confusing people even more. I mean, the people don't really care who is the one who gets to be the one who makes the announcement and decide, as long as clear guidelines are actually made and decisively and together as one voice.
Exactly. And speaking of the COVID-19 vaccinations, those who received 2 doses of Sinovac back in March to May will be the first group eligible for a booster shot next Friday, while those who received the Sinopharm vaccines will be the next group to receive the booster shots. Yesterday, Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul announced that the government has plans to inoculate those who received 2 doses of inactivated virus vaccines, such as Sinovac and Sinopharm, with booster shots. Those who've been vaccinated with 2 doses of Sinovac back in March until May will be eligible for the booster shot, where most of them are medical personnel. And those who received Sinopharm will not receive the booster shot yet, but will be in the next group where the Disease Control Department will organize the vaccination. As for the booster shot inoculation day, the Public Health Ministry has chosen September 24th, which is Mahidol Day, and it is also an important day for the public health industry. Well, it looks like the inoculation plan is speeding up. not only the booster shots, but also the inoculation for students as well. However, we should not forget those who haven't received a single dose and who do not have access to the vaccines as well.
Right, definitely. There are still many actually without connections or employers registering for the vaccinations for them. And as we mentioned before, no one is safe until everyone is safe, so no one should be left behind.
Right.
And moving on now to politics. This can be another hope for many people as the Thai parliament has passed the long awaited torture and enforced disappearance bills in the first reading following some delays. The motion was actually moved up in the parliament's agenda amid the killer cop scandal in which a group of police officers were torturing a drug suspect to death. The House of Representatives yesterday passed the four draft bills against torture and enforced disappearance by state officials in its first reading with 368 votes for, one vote against, and one abstention. The government-initiated draft will be the main legislation to be scrutinized by a 25-member House Scrutiny Committee appointed by the House, where they were given 7 days to scrutinize the four bills. The essence of the government's draft is in Section 5, which stipulates that a state official who deliberately inflicts pain or suffering, physically or mentally, in order to extract confession or for more information from a suspect or for the purpose of extortion, is considered to be committing an act of torture and is liable to a maximum prison term of 25 years and a fine of up to 500,000 baht. But if the suspect dies in the course of the torture, the perpetrator is liable to life imprisonment and a fine of up to 1 million baht. So, of course, those who are involved, similar penalties are also applied to state officials who commit enforced disappearance.
At the same time, collaborators or supporters of the crime are liable to similar penalties, while superiors of the perpetrators who are aware of the crime but do not stop the crime will be liable to half of these penalties. Under this bill, a committee responsible for preventing and suppressing torture and enforced disappearance will be set up. A case of torture or enforced disappearance is to be considered a special case to come under the jurisdiction of the Department of Special Investigation under the Justice Ministry, not the Royal Thai Police. The torture and enforced disappearance bills were given fast-track treatment by the House after public outrage over the release on social media of a video clip showing a group of policemen in Nakhon Sawan province using plastic bags to cover the head of a drug suspect during the course of their investigation, and then the suspect died on the spot, if we all remember the case. At least 7 police officers, including the former superintendent, were later dismissed from the service and detained for interrogation.
Meanwhile, the Human Rights Watch applauded the move, saying the Thai parliament has taken a major step towards outlawing torture and enforced disappearance. But since this was only the first reading, the rights watchdog also urged the Thai MPs to see this through and ensure the law meets international standards.
Well, it's nice to see that the bill is being taken seriously by the parliament because we've been hearing too many cases of police brutality as well as forced disappearance for way too long. And one thing we have to admit, though, is that the police brutality case last month has helped shed more light on this issue.
Definitely. And keep in mind, too, that the case in Nakhon Sawan is only the tip of the iceberg of torture and enforced disappearance. The most prominent case before the police one is, of course, the disappearance of Kun Wanchalerm Saksit, whose disappearance was actually one of the triggers for the recent anti-establishment protests as well.
Exactly. And let's end the program tonight with the latest on the Rao Tiew Duay Kan incentive, which is meant to encourage more domestic traveling. Thailand's Ministry of Tourism and Sports is set to launch the third phase of the Rao Tiew Duay Kan, or We Travel Together tourism promotion program on September 24th by enabling Thai citizens who want hotel and airfare discounts plus free food coupons to register for the benefits. The Tourism and Sports Minister Pipat Ratchakitprakarn said the registration will be through the www.raotiewduaykan.com website from September 24th, with only 2 million openings available. Successful registrants can make use of the benefits from October 15th into early next year. He said that the Tourism Authority of Thailand wants the program to be extended until next February. However, this will have to be approved by the cabinet. Under the stimulus scheme, only Thai nationals aged 18 and above are eligible. Each will receive 40% discount on room rates no more than 3,000 baht per night, 40% airfare discounts, and a 600 baht per day free food coupon.
And regarding the other tourism program designed to help the sector known as the Tour Tiu Thai or Thailand Tour, there will be 1 million individual registrations available, but they are required to use the services of tour agencies for that intra-provincial travel. And the state will subsidize 40% of the cost of travel and lodging, but not exceeding 5,000 baht per head, and they can travel on any day of the week. One tour agency can accept only 1,000 customers under the program. So that looks like really good incentives indeed, because when we talk about tourism, almost everyone would just focus on international travels. And now that we already just reported the so-called reopening of the country and Bangkok and other tourist attractions in particular. But to mention, most of the people who are still remaining here, domestic tourism is something that we have to live with and use that to the full extent.
Exactly. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, which actually blocks the foreign tourists from traveling into Thailand at the very beginning, up until now, this is the opportunity to increase domestic traveling after they have managed to control the spread of COVID-19, even though it hasn't really improved at the moment, but at least if there are many provinces that manage to recover, they should be able to welcome more domestic tourists at this time.
Definitely. And looking forward to the normality actually to resumes as well. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Thai PBS World tonight. But do catch us like this every weekday at 7 p.m. for all the top stories and explainers.
And don't forget to follow us on social media as well as our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates and analyses. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you next Monday. Sawasdee ka.
Sawasdee ka. Have a good evening and weekend.